Okay, hi everyone. I'm Jasmine, and today I'm joined by Claire Thompson, who is the CEO of Agility Life Sciences. So, a couple of weeks ago, we held our first ever Building Life Science Adventures Careers Conference, which was fantastic. And we also presented the Life Sciences Inspiration of the Year Award for the first time, and Claire was our winner. So today we're just kind of going to discuss a little bit about what Claire does, how she got there, maybe some challenges she's faced, and her biggest achievements. So, thank you for joining us today, Claire.
Oh,
And if you want to kick it off by maybe giving me a little bit of background about what you've done and how you've got to where you are today.
thanks, Jasmine. Thanks for having me on today. And I'm still overwhelmed by winning the award. It was such an accolade. I'm really humbled by it. I'm not often lost for words, but I certainly was at the time. My background's all in the pharmaceutical industry, so I'm a biochemist by training. And then my PhD was sponsored by what was then SmithKline Beecham, now GSK, and that kind of got me hooked on drug development. I spent a few years with Pfizer down in Kent, and then was headhunted across to GSK. I knew I'd end up there at some point, and then spent a few more years working across early stage R&D mostly. So looking at molecules that were coming out of drug discovery, trying to accelerate those towards clinic. And then from then on, I'd spent quite a bit of time in a big corporation and focused on a specific technical area. And I wanted to kind of broaden my sphere of knowledge and look out into the commercial side of things. So I got a role at Molecular Profiles, which then was bought by Juniper and then Catalent, and it was a CDMO. So really going from the big pharma side to the client side, and there I was running a technical team, developing new services, and then going out and selling those services. So it was half technical, half commercial, and it was it's quite a contrast going from an employee in an organization of 100,000 people to employee number 33, I think it was. And, getting involved in various different parts of the business, marvelous learning experience, and a really great team. And I think that's kind of what's spurred me on and supported me throughout my career, has been surrounded by brilliant people. And from there, as if that wasn't a small enough company, I then went to become head of R&D at a virtual biotech. So I was employee number 4. So really, you did get involved in everything there. So from identifying potential technologies to in-license to developing drugs, getting them ready for clinic, helping to fundraise, etc. So it exposed me to a completely different skill set. If CEO and the CTO were phenomenal there, and I still keep in touch with them. Really, really good mentors, and I learned a lot from them as well. And then I had an opportunity to do a piece of work, but it meant that I had to set up a company to do it. So I set up Agility 8.5 years ago, basically to do this piece of work for a non-profit organization. It wasn't part of the plan, but it turned out that I did this piece of work pretty well. I thought I've got some decent skills from large pharma, from CDMO, from virtual biotech, and perhaps I can apply these skills to help others to accelerate their products. And really, Agility's grown from there. So we are UK based. We are an award-winning CDMO consulting and communications company. So we work with tiny clients up to multinationals on 3 key things, and they all begin with S. I love a bit of wordplay. So the first one is on their science. We help them to turn their ideas into products, get those products ready for a clinic and ready for the market. So I've got a formulation development lab in Nottingham. The second piece is strategy. There's no point in having a great idea if you can't get any money behind it. So we position our clients for investment and for growth. So we're always looking at what's the gap in the market, what's the market for the gap, why should anyone be interested in what your product or your technology is, why should they put their hand in their pocket? And the last piece, which underpins everything that we do, is we help our clients to tell their story. And as scientists, we're pretty rubbish at talking about what we do and why it's impactful. We quite often talk about features and not the benefits. And, you know, it's really important now in the midst of a pandemic when everybody's focused on the pharmaceutical and the life science industry and the kind of impact that we have, that we use this spotlight and this time to talk about what we do in a meaningful way. So it's one of my kind of passions and mantras about making our messaging memorable for the right reasons.
Yeah, I think that is fantastic. And I mean, I remember once actually at one of the events that you did, I think it might have been Genesis, but where you were kind of saying we need to remove this jargon surrounding like everything we're talking about to really try and attract people into it. And I find that particularly inspiring because, I mean, we need to be inspiring the next generations into the life sciences. I think you said as well, with the second most hated industry, which just blew me away.
I know it's insane, isn't it? After oil and gas, but as a scientist, it's kind of an excuse and it's kind of not. We're trained to use these big words, and it's almost like a badge of honor that we know what this means. But it does mean that we're putting up these perceived barriers to other people who are outside of the industry because they don't understand what they mean, and it's we need to stop doing that, and we need to engage with people. We need to inspire the next generation of scientists, especially as I dread to mention it, but we have to, especially as Brexit means that we're not as attractive. The UK is not as attractive anymore to fantastic scientists. We have those barriers to people coming here or people staying here. So we need to grow and retain the talent wherever we can.
Absolutely. And I mean, how have you found it being kind of a very successful woman within the life sciences and getting to where you are today? Did you face any challenges along the way? Did you feel kind of, I don't know, did you ever doubt yourself at any point? What kind of like kept you going?
Oh, brilliant question. So so I'm a sportswoman as well. I'm a footballer. I still have my football boots over there just in case, in case of emergency. So I use sporting analogies a lot, and I use my time as a footballer. It's trained me in a lot of business skills, and the reason I mention it now is that I've faced a lot more sexism and a lot more barriers in sport than I ever have done in science or in business.
Wow.
Yeah, I've always had this, oh, girls can't play football. Oh, really? And and they soon shut up when you nutmeg them or you chip the keeper from 25 yards. That's what silences people, but they still slide in and take your legs out from underneath you. But and unfortunately that's still in the game. I'm kind of used to being the only woman in the room. A lot of times I still am. That doesn't faze me. I used to be the youngest person in the room. I'm not really that young anymore. But no, it never really bothered me. I guess, I mean, the hair, and I haven't got a bright outfit on today, but I tend to, if I'm talking at events or I'm talking at a very important meeting, this is kind of my armor that I put on, like a bright red dress or bright blue dress or bright green dress or something sparkly, like the sequined number I wore last week, and the hair and the shoes. For me, they're my armor. This is kind of part of what makes me memorable, so that's kind of it's the visual impact when I come into a room, and it's almost like, okay, I'm ready for this. I've got my game face on, I've got my kit on, and I'm ready to go. And I think that's kind of helped me whenever I feel that a bit of imposter syndrome or a lack of confidence. It is that armor that kind of keeps me going. But also, and I said this last week, success is not a solo sport. So yes, I'm not going to be humble about this. I am successful, but that's because of the people that are around me, the tribe of people that have supported me along the way, the tribe of people that I have in my team. I'd be useless without all of them. So when we celebrate success, we celebrate that as a collective. I certainly don't do this on my own. And your question about do I ever feel a lack of confidence? Yeah, it's probably like 2 or 3 days a month. I think I'm useless.
Oh, yeah, no, I think that's totally normal, to be honest. And do you know what? It's really refreshing to hear that you kind of, it's very inspiring to hear as a woman that you've never let it get to you. I think actually after I'd asked that question, I was like, do you know, why am I digging for like maybe something negative to come out here to, because I feel like naturally it's so easy to whinge about something, but hearing your story about being like, actually, I don't let it get to me and I am successful, I've worked hard, I've got a great team of people around me, is a far more important message to put out there than it has been really difficult as a woman. Because if young girls, young students are watching this, we want to encourage them to join and not scare them off and make it seem like it is a big bad industry.
But I think there's a lot of people out there who, I mean, I'm not shy, and there's a lot of people, a lot of women out there who perhaps don't have the same level of kind of confidence in their competence that I have, and we've got to support each other. And there's a program of work that I'm leading with the International Pharmaceutical Federation, FIP. They're based in Holland, but it's a global not-for-profit, and I'm chairing the FIP-wise, so Women in Science and Education initiative, and one of the strands that we're working on there is confidence and competence, so building confidence and competence, and a lot of that comes from mentoring, but also shining a spotlight on people who have achieved things even when they feel that they can't, or examples of when people have been brave in the face of something that they feel that they can't do. So I think it's seeing other people doing it.
Yeah,
even when they're feeling, I can't do this. I'm not trained to do this. I'm not perfect at this. None of us are. So I think we've got to support each other, and
definitely. And I think change is slow, but I think change is happening, which is fantastic, and that's so inspiring to hear. Is that the Women in Science and Education program? Oh, amazing! And alongside that, you also do GIFT, right? Which is girls in football teams.
Girls in football teams, yes.
Which is amazing. That's just incredible.
It is. It's lovely. We sponsor 11 teams. It was our first year. We launched this last year, and I wanted to do it for a while, and then came up with the name, and then it had to happen from there. So, as I said to you, football's really important to me. It's taught me a lot of life skills about reading the game. I'm a big one on scenario planning. So what's going to come next? What's going to come after that? How can we get ahead of the game? For our clients, who's your competitors? Looking up from the ball and looking around and going, okay, so they can do this, and they can do this, and they can do this. So where's our next move in the market? And also about maintaining momentum. Celebrating success, maintaining momentum when things aren't going that well, and really understanding how people taking and getting the best out of them, not the most out of them, but getting the best out of them. So if their head is down, how do you get it up? And that's something that I carried through my entire career, and especially with the pandemic, it's kind of hit the women's game really hard. It's kept the grassroots game really hard, and what I wanted to do was to ensure that if I can do anything to prevent girls from falling out of football and learning these skills, not just skills for sport, but skills for life, then brilliant. So we've set up this gift grant scheme where a team can apply for £500 worth of funding, and they can use that for new kit, for coaching, for equipment, for whatever it is, but it has to be a girls team. It has to go towards a girls team, and we now sponsor 11 teams around the UK, and pure luck really that they're in every age group from under 8s all the way up to adults, which is just phenomenal. And they span the UK. So it's our first gift grants round. Last year we will launch the second one. I think it's on the 1st of June.
Wow.
Or the 3rd of June. Anyway, first week in June, it will be in my comms director's going to kill me for not remembering the date. But yeah, so we'll launch that again. Very simple application form.
Blimey, Do you ever feel like you have got a lot on your plate? I mean, what you do is just fantastic. I mean, your team, I think it's clear, love you, and all of the stuff that you do on top of that. How do you cope with it?
Oh, I'm terrible at work-life balance. Oh, awful, absolutely
Yeah.
awful. Yeah, I do have a lot on, but I love a lot of variety as well. So we've got a diverse client base. We've got a lot of internal programs going on as well. Yeah, I get very easily bored, so I like to have a lot going on. But
Keep busy.
also always feel like I'm not doing enough.
Really?
Yeah.
Blimey. I mean, that's surprising to hear because everything that you've told me so far is just amazing. What would you say maybe have been some key points in your career that you're grateful for learning from, or some really key achievements?
Oh, so I'm really proud of the gift grants. I think if you'd have told me a few years ago that we would have done that, I think I'd have gone, really? Are you sure?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really proud of that because it has such an impact on the kids. They love it. It's phenomenal just to see the like them able to play in the snow a few days ago. I mean, 11-year-olds running about shorts and t-shirts in the snow. It's just it's phenomenal what it enables them to do. It's always lovely to win awards, and as I said, I'm really humbled and just astonished by the Life Science Inspiration of the Year award. It made my mum cry, and I think that's kind of if you can make your parents proud, that's the be all and end all of it. But I think it's the when I've been at a crossroads in my career, there have been maybe 3 or 4 people I call my core tribe that I can go to, and they will give me their honest opinion. They'll tell me the truth if they think it's a nonsense thing, and those are the people that really I owe all of this success to. And I think one of the biggest achievements was, not letting this crisis go to waste and opening a formulation development lab in the midst of a pandemic in September. And we now have 5 people there, and we've been full from day one. I shouldn't say full. My development people kill me for saying. Yeah, we've been operating at high capacity since then. No, it's it's great. It's probably something that I should have done a few years ago, but hindsight's a wonderful thing.
Absolutely. Something as well that stands out to me is your mantra of well-being over workload, and I think that is so important that you're creating a safe workplace for people to come to and feel relaxed. And I think being able to support people around you, they'll be eternally grateful for it, and to be able to work better and more effectively, short term and long term. But what does that kind of mean to you then, the well-being over workload?
Well, if we don't look after our people, I mean, they're the biggest asset that I have and that any company has, and we don't look after them when we've got nothing. My team, apart from the ones that have to be in the Nottingham facility, and even then, if they don't have to be in the lab, then they can work from home. Everybody's worked from home, so everybody's worked remotely from the beginning. So that I don't mind what hours people work as long as they get the job done. You've got childcare, fine. You want to work, start early and finish early, fine. It doesn't matter to me. So everybody has the option to work part-time. So if I advertise a new role, it's part-time or full-time. We do shared parental leave. You have the maternity policies from day one, even down to bank holidays. Bank holidays are always on a Monday, but some of my team don't generally work on a Monday. It's rubbish that bank holidays are just on a Monday. So if there's a bank holiday that week, then anybody who doesn't work on that day can take that day at another point. They bank it because it's ludicrous, I think.
Yeah.
I really hope that we don't see people just going back into the day-to-day working in an office, having to have those face-to-face meetings after the pandemic, because we're all adults and we should, you know, behave like so. And
Definitely.
yeah, and you mean you place that trust on your team. We've been really flexible and really supportive with how we work, and you know, one of the things that I have that is now part of my management team's bingo sheet when I speak to them is give people an environment in which they can succeed. So they kind of take that off when I say it, and I absolutely believe in it. You know, if you do that and you empower people to do their jobs, and you know, we celebrate success together, and you let people know that they're valued, then they'll give so much value in return.
Absolutely.
I don't know. It seems really simple. I
Yeah.
feel like I'm not doing anything revolutionary, but maybe I am. I don't know.
I think so. But I also would like to think that maybe we are starting to be a bit more open to learning from each other. So, I mean, I had so many takeaways from the conference where I was like, okay, wow, like that really inspired to go and think about what am I going to do to now better my career as a person. And I hope that we're going to see a little bit more collaboration and people learning from each other, because yeah, I think it is important.
So what are you going to do? What were your takeaways?
Well, I think one really interesting for me was having a mentor. And that was really interesting to me. And then kind of making me think that, okay, it's fantastic having your line managers and people that you work with, but sometimes you might want to ask like an informal question or go to somebody externally. It made me think a little bit like, oh, that is interesting. And then who? But yeah, no, and also networking, big thing. And I think people should really, really take advantage of it, because everybody is very friendly. I mean, when I started working in the life sciences, I didn't know anybody, and everyone has just been really friendly, really nice. If I've had a question, patient, which has been brilliant. And I think just, yeah, if you've got a question, ask. I think they're my key takeaways from it. But yeah, exciting. You feel really motivated coming away from it, which was good. Really, really good.
And I would say that for any of the One Nucleus events, they all have a real buzz about them. It's a real community.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know about the other just over 200 people that attended, but I took something away from it. I might be slightly biased, but yeah, no, it was great fun. But coming back to you, if you can leave us with a little bit of advice maybe for a young career seeker or even maybe a career shifter, what kind of advice would you give?
Oh, great question. So the footballing analogy. So when my father taught me how to play football when I was really young, he told me the difference between an average footballer and an exceptional footballer was their ability to look up from the ball. So the ball's at their feet, look up and try and pick out your next pass. So where are you going next? So one of the pieces of advice I would give would be to periodically look up and first of all, reflect on how far you've come and make sure you celebrate the success. Now more than any time, it's really important to celebrate the success. And then think about where you're going to do next, where you're going to go next. So what are your next challenges? What is it that you want to do? Not what jobs are out there or what companies are out there. What is it that you want to do? And then go on and challenge yourself from there. The building your networks. I mean, without networks and without great people, I'd have got nowhere. So absolutely. And networking has this cringy feeling about it. Chat to people about themselves, find out about what their job is, what they like about it, what they don't like about it. And be brave. You're never going to be 100% prepared or 100% ready for role. So whenever I find myself at crossroads, as well as talking to my nearest and dearest tribe and kind of using them as a sounding board, I try and project myself 5 years into the future and think, if I don't do this, will I regret it? And if the answer is yes, you've just got to do it. You find a way to do it. Yeah, so take a deep breath and jump both feet in.
Wonderful. That is some really, really great advice. And thank you so much for joining me today. The award was incredibly well deserved. I think you are just a true inspiration. So thank you so much for sharing your career journey.
A pleasure. It's really kind. Thank you.
Thank you.